feeling, yeah. Like how are you? It seems like things are going really well for you. I wish that I could say the same about me too. I wish that I could say the same. And boy, you know I've tried to pray. I bruised my knees. I've tried to bring you back to me. I've tried my best to find some kind of peace. Don't you see? There's a big black hole where my heart used to be, and I tried my best to fill it up with things I need. It don't work like that. No, it's not easy to fill this gap that you left in me. There's a big black hole where my heart used to be, and I wish that you would realize I'm all that you need. It don't work like that. No, it's not easy to fill this gap that you left in me. Without a trace, you disappeared and took some of me with you, babe. Like the way I used to laugh until my belly ached. Well, that's all gone away now, yeah. And boy, you know I've tried to pray. I bruised my knees. I've tried to bring you back to me. I've tried my best to find some kind of peace. Don't you see? There's a big black hole where my heart used to be, and I tried my best to fill it up with things I need. It don't work like that. No, it's not easy to fill this gap that you left in me. There's a big black hole where my heart used to be, and I wish that you would realize I'm all that you need. It don't work like that. No, it's not easy to fill this gap that you left in me.
Well, some of the driver on the pitch. Well, some of the driver on the pitch. They think it's all over, but it is now.
Oh, shit. Pardon me. Express yourself, create the space. You know you can win, don't give up the pace. Get your man, take him on. You never give up, it's one-on-one. Express yourself, it's one-on-one. It's one-on-one. It's one me wrong when something's good, it's never gone. Love's got the world in motion, and I know what we can do. Love's got the world in motion, and I can't believe it's true. Time that everyone see, you never give up, that's how it should be. Don't get caught, make your own way, express yourself, don't give it away. Express yourself, it's one-on-one. Express yourself, it's one-on-one. Express yourself, it can't be wrong when something's good, it's never gone. Love's got the world in motion, and I know what we can do. Love's got the world in motion, and I can't believe it's true. Love's got the world in motion, and I know what we can do. Love's got the world in motion, and I can't. Are you ready for the best rap ever? Are you ready for... This is when rap music peaked, just here. Take it away, MC Barnes. You've got to hold and give, but do it at the right time. You can be slow or fast, but you must get to the line. They'll always hit you and hurt you. Defend and attack. There's only one way to beat them. Get round the back. Now catch me if you can, cause I'm the England man. And what you're looking at is the master plan. We don't care who we get. This ain't a football song. 3 lions on my chest. You know I can't quit playing for England. We're playing this song. We're singing for England. I rewrite the cheers one on one. Yes, indeed, England. That is how you're supposed to say it. Hello. No. No. Generally, I find people who are into arse rape don't need encouragement. Hello. I'll tell you what, there's nothing like stuffing the Germans, is there? Just to fucking cheer you up after a miserable fucking week. Yeah, I've got one like. Fucking get with a program. Fucking, you know. Get those likes up. And I may have, like, when Harry Kane scored the second, I may have gone outside and run down the street where there was nobody, just screaming just this guttural roar. Oh. Spiker, do you have to come in right away and start talking bollocks? I mean, I know you talk nothing but bollocks. You are fluent in bollockese, but... trying to think of a Canadian footballer. Enjoyed the game. It was very good. You know, it was very good. Good. They did very well. Good on them. Yeah, I'm pleased for them. Yeah. I might have got a bit carried away and encouraged a bit of cyberbullying, because I after the game I went and searched for anyone who tweeted, "This will be Germany's easiest game." And I quote tweeted it with going, "Ratio this bastard now. Fuck this motherfucker up." You know, just, you get in the moment, you know. Well, everyone was banging on, weren't they? Everyone was so miserable after we drew 0-0 with Scotland. I'm like, look, that was just us giving them a patronising point. And there you go. Yeah, you can take that back with you. Yeah. I will say this for Scotland. They have got, you know, they made what might be one of my favourite football songs ever. I can't remember what tournament it was. I think it was for one. I don't know if it was for the World Cup or European Cup, but their World Cup song one year was by Delamitri, and it was called "Don't Come Home Too Soon." You know, you're like, oh bless them, they can't even There's no chest puffing, no fucking no. Just don't come home too soon, lads. We're not expecting much, but no, it means we're through to the court. No, what it means, Ramik, is Ramik. You understand? We beat Germany, right? And that's that's it. We beat them at Wembley, right, for the first time in a knockout tournament since 1966. Although it's hard to tell sometimes of England because they always try and sell an England game like England to take on one of their bitterest rivals, and you're like, Germany, no, okay, Argentina, no, okay, France, no, Spain, no, okay, Scotland, no, Australia, no, and you realise it's pretty much everyone, Was it? I don't know. I think you'll find North Korea don't take part, mate. And as soon as as soon as we start fighting, as soon as we face the Germans, all those fuckers who for the entire tournament have been banging on about, oh, I don't want them kneeling. I don't like it when people bring politics into football. Oh, we're facing the Germans. Oh, 2 world wars and 1 World Cup. Doo-dah, doo-dah. 2 world wars and 1... Have I been corona-free? As far as I'm aware, yeah. I had my first shot. Not that it's going to matter, because by the time this Delta strain has fucking raped and pillaged its way through the population, all of this all the last 18 months will be for nothing. Oh yes, Pearl Harbor, where America was taken completely by surprise 2 years into a global war. Fucking amateurs, mate. Anyway, so did I hear about this who worked on video? No. Kiwi Farms is trash anyway. It's always been trash. I mean, I remember like in 2015 when there was all that stuff, like that drama surrounding with JJ Talks and that, and Kiwi Farms suddenly started posting stuff about me. I'm like, motherfuckers, you are about 7 years too fucking late, Good luck, Don't care. I haven't checked Storm. Have you found my Stormfront thread? My Stormfront thread is actually quite. Looking back on it, it's actually it was quite prophetic actually. It foreshadowed quite a lot of what was to come. Um, oh, let me see if I can find it. Hold on. I found Stormfront. Right, let's see if we can find. I'm in Stormfront Island. I don't want Stormfront Island. Uh, oh, I can't find it. Oh, don't say it's gone down. No, I can't find it. That's annoying. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I mean, I was supposed to do that. No, that is like well over a month. That is like nearly a month and a half overdue. Well, what video are you looking for? I might have a copy of it. Why don't you ask me instead of the mods, seeing as I'm here? Yeah. Because if I ain't got it, then you know. Don't have an opinion on Dire Straits. What do you mean you'll never see it again? I never did an episode of it. 2016, where you read off a load of Alex Jones YouTube. Oh right, yeah, that was on. That was in 2016. That one, yeah, no, that's gone. That one. Yeah, I've got most of my Alex Jones one. I think that's the one. I think that's the one Alex Jones video I haven't got. I mean, I've still got all the animation, and all the everything from the Muslim Shire. What I did do of it, you know. Still got the intro. Still got the intro. Well, I do cover that actually in my Alex Jonestown series. I did cover the. Don't I miss Alex Jones on YouTube? No. Why would I? I know where the cunt is if I wanted to go see him. Dude, I spent fucking, how many goddamn, I spent nearly 20 years fucking, following Alex Jones and stuff. I was following him long before I was fucking on YouTube, and, Oh yeah, I remember that. Do you know what? I remember years later finding the audio for that, and yeah, and I could never find the video, but you know the audio was. It was bizarrely. It was on a fucking. It was on. It was on an iPad. I can't remember fucking. You know. He hasn't kept a cork on things at all. You just haven't had him waved in front of you. He's because he hasn't been on every platform. You know. He hasn't kept a cork in it at all. You fucking imbecile. Which one? He's only got one. Like I've said this before, Alex Jones only has one conspiracy. You know, because every conspiracy he fucking starts like atrazine. Okay, but here's the thing: something talking a load of shit like for 5 hours a day, 5 days a week, and then some of it eventually becoming true is not a sign that does not mean that Alex does not mean anything. You know, we can all do that. I've had fucking, I've had fucking, I've made videos that were fucking that were jokes that have ended up becoming true. I've made fucking, I've made videos that were satirical piss takes of things and that years later have become fucking actual, are actually fucking real. It's not because I'm a prophet or I'm fucking, I'm it's just that's the way it goes. I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't care. Yeah. I don't remember when Alex Jones moved to Tumblr. I'm surprised he didn't have a. Yeah, I mean, no, that is true. I mean, it is. I mean, the problem with Alex Jones is he couldn't make his, he couldn't make it. Well, I mean, Glenn Beck, was, when Glenn Beck was mainstream about 10 years ago, he had the highest rated show on Fox back in 2010, and he wasn't saying anything that was any less fucking bonkers. But if you're going to do it in mainstream, you've got to have, you've got to present it properly, and that's one of my, I've played it before. It's one of my, I think it's one of my favourite YouTube videos. Was the why was the reason YouTube gagged him? Well, I mean, the reason they gave was, just because because he had started to become a bit mainstream and that, and the mainstream media was going through things that he'd said, because obviously they're not going to fucking, they're going to crucify him the first chance they get, because all he's ever done is slag him off. So, and the one they focused on was the Sandy Hook thing, and I think it had something also to do with the Comet Ping Pong, the thing as well. But I mean, it's all bullshit. I mean, he was doing the Sandy Hook thing in 2012. It's just that he didn't have the exposure that he had in like 2017 when but I mean, let's be honest, by rights, if when you look at the things they don't. What the fucking hell are you talking about? Do you want to hear something fucking amazing? Do you want to hear? I did something that I didn't think was possible last week. I set up a fucking I set up a Daily Motion account, right? Just to see if and I uploaded 4 videos, right? And within 3 days, 2 of them were flagged and removed, and my account was terminated. Daily Motion. I can't even get my videos on Daily Motion. Do you know how fucking difficult it is? I once found a video on Daily Motion of a geezer beheading a dog. Right? It had been up for years. There are literally fucking countless TV. You know, if you want to find a TV show, I guarantee you someone's uploaded it on Daily Motion. Yeah, hell yeah. You know, I think Daily Motion fucking, you know, it's quite impressive when you think about it, because like you think of all the video sites that have come and gone, Daily Motion's still going, man. Because Daily Motion's got a very laissez, you know, it's got a very laissez-faire attitude to copyright. Yeah, I watched Hell's Kitchen, yeah. I've watched Hotel Hell, I watched anything on that fucking, you know. Yeah, but it doesn't matter, mate. Ron, it doesn't matter whether they watched it and flagged it. It's the fact it was on Daily Motion. No, he did claim that. Bavy, you know, to quote his exact words, the Sandy Hook massacre is staged, synthetic, you know, false flag. Those were his words. When he was in trouble for it, he tried to fucking get out of it by saying that he changed his fucking position, but there was no video evidence of him ever doing that. And it probably was. Oh, for God's sake. Fuck off. Just fuck off. You know, I'm not even wasting my time. I am not sitting here debating whether or not a massacre of school children was real or not. You fucking imbecile. What would be the fucking point? Yeah. Yeah, it is, Ron. You notice how he went from, he never said that, he goes, well, it probably was. Make your mind up. No, he claimed in court that what he did on the internet was performance art. You know. Now, to be fair, you know, and then the next day on his show, like, he said that he's just saying that he's just, you know, because he's just playing the game. He's just saying what he's got to say. You know. Which is kind of a dumb thing to do, really, isn't it? You know. To sit there in court. He also claimed he couldn't remember. He also forgot one of his kids' names, and he claimed it was because he'd eaten some chili. The problem is, Ron, is when you bullshit, when your sort of currency is bullshit, you only think about what's going to get you what's going to get you past the next sentence. You don't think about whether or not it makes sense anything you said before or what you're going to say next. See you, Dingle. What was the thought process? What behind the fucking? Well, because he was trying, you know, because it was the court case was over custody of his kids, so he claimed that everything he did on the internet was was a fucking, you know, was a what's its name, was performance art. It wasn't. It was a show to sort of make, because otherwise he would look like what he is, which is fucking mental. Of course, it's not very convincing, you know. I mean, if it was performance art, look, the chili part, I don't know. That wasn't a defence. He just, you know, he just threw it out there. He just he just forgot one of his kids' names, and then he just said, you know, he had a bowl of chili for. I don't know. You know, there's no recorded fucking studies or data that suggests, you know. It was taken off. Yeah, it was put back though. What do you mean his punishment is over? Fuck off, Spiker. Stop fucking standing for Alex Jones, you fucking reprobate. How many times have I been fucked? If you get banned, you get fucking banned. You don't let someone back on. They're fucking rules, mate. You don't change the rules for one person. You do it for one person, you got to do it for everyone. YouTube doesn't say, we'll suspend you if you violate these terms of service, we will suspend you, but we'll let you back after a while if you promise to behave yourself. Because he wouldn't. You know? If I can get fucking, flagged for, you don't see the point in getting the vaccine. Why? You do know the virus doesn't care how old you are. It doesn't know. Dude, I mean, if you don't want to get it, it's your fucking business. I don't really care. Obviously, everyone else should. You do know that's how viruses mutate, right? You can't just use that excuse, oh, everyone else is getting vaccinated, why do I have to? Because that's how viruses mutate. They mutate by, infecting people. And the more people they infect, the more it mutates. And it will mutate into something stronger, like we've already got it. It's got a survival rate for that. Dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's got a survival rate. Dude, are you just happy to survive? Is that all you're interested in, is survive? You do know there's other problems. There are some people who have got it. People who are like fucking, like athletes who can't walk up a flight of stairs without getting fucking out of breath. There have been plenty of cases of people in that age range who are still suffering the fucking... And we don't know, because it hasn't been around long enough, what the long-term side effects of it are. You're not going to be 30 fucking forever, are you? Most illnesses have got a survival rate that's quite high. Doesn't mean it's a good idea to fucking get it. And also, if you do get it, yes, that's a good point. What about if you give it to someone else? What about the people who haven't got that survival rate? Who you could potentially give it to? You don't leave your apartment. I don't care. Don't fucking talk shite. Yeah, but how would you know if you've got it? How about this? Again, we don't know the long-term consequences of it. What if we find out that, if people who have COVID in their someone geezer has COVID when he's 30, And that fucking, in 10 years later, it's still fucking affecting you. And it gives you fucking, and it's more like, you're more likely to have severe respiratory fucking problems later on in life. Why don't you do that? What about this? Just go get a fucking, just go get the pissing vaccine and you don't have to worry about it. Or also, what if, just what if, whatever the survival rate is, what if you're in that small percentage that don't? We don't know the long-term content of the film. Oh, of course we. Yeah, bye-bye. Yeah, do you know what? We do know the long-term consequences of a vaccine. Do you know what it is? It means you're vaccinated. You're worried about the fucking vaccine, which is... What's the survival rate of the vaccine? Anybody got that? You cannot come in here and talk about the survival rate of COVID and then talk about the fucking vaccine. What's the survival rate of that? Knob. Well, I mean, it's been around long enough now that we can finally quash that. When people talk about, because when it first came about, everyone was like, oh god, it doesn't kill, same amount of people die who get the flu every year. Well, we can knock that one on the head, can't we? Don't care. Here's what I wonder. The people who say that vaccines, cause autism. I've always wondered, what if you've already got autism? Do you get, like, double autism? Or extra autism? Do you get, like... Or does it just, like, not show any effect? Is it like, you've got Asperger's, then you get a vaccine, and all of a sudden you're counting cards in a casino? Do you know how many COVID cases we had yesterday in the UK? What, 23,000? Oh, Matt Hancock shagging his secretary. Don't care. I mean, poor old Matt Hancock. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Can you imagine losing your job with fucking, because Boris... Can you imagine losing your job when your boss is Boris Johnson because you had an affair? That is some piss poor... Of all the things you think you wouldn't lose your fucking job over... Yeah, or something, yeah. It's about right. One, well, he was. I've said this before. He was asked in a fucking LBC video, in an interview with. Let me see if I can find it. Actually, hold on. Where is it? It's it was Nick Ferrari and Boris Johnson. Where was it? Did you? Here it is. This is a. This is Boris Johnson being asked a very straightforward question.
But I have to put it to you. How come you're prepared to comment on other people's children when you won't talk about your own?
Well, actually, I don't comment on other people's children.
I've got to read it again to you. Are you serious? The children are ill-raised, ignorant, aggressive and illegitimate.
I think what people want to hear is what...
He's talking about his own.
No, there is a trust issue, Mr. Johnson. That people want to... How many children do you have?
Look, I love my children very much, but they are not standing at this election.
How many children do you have?
And I'm not, therefore, going to comment on...
Are you fully and wholly involved in all their lives?
I love my children very much. They're not standing at this
I hear
election.
you, but I put these questions to you.
With great respect to you, Nick.
No,
I'm not going to... No, it's fine. I'm not going to give you a talk.
You talk about others.
I'm not going to give you a talk. And
I'm
all
not
I'm
asking
saying,
them
all I'm saying
How
is
many children?
I'm not going to
How many
put
children
them
you got?
onto the pitch in this election campaign.
I'm not asking
when
you
I think
to,
what
Prime Minister.
people want to hear is what my plans are for the country.
Yeah,
what
I'd
this
like to hear that
government
too.
Is
Was this it?
determined to do, and how we're going to take the country forward. And that is, I think, the way.
How many children have you
all
got?
parties should be judged, and we have a fantastic agenda. We have a transformative manifesto, and we're
You're
going to get
moving
on
in, if you're
and deliver.
successful next month, you'll be moving in to number 10 with a partner considerably younger than you. There was great excitement of the pitter and patter of tiny feet with the previous Prime Minister. Might that happen again?
Nick, I think I'm gonna
How many children have you got?
respectfully make the same point that I just made. I don't believe in dragging into
mean there might
the
be
politics.
Another Johnson on the way?
I'm not going to get into discussions of...
Can you tell me there's not another Johnson on the way? As if the country hasn't suffered enough from the existing tribe. I don't know if we can take any more. Is there another Johnson on the way?
I don't think this is...
I think he's trying to start his own football
What the
team.
nation wants to hear is how are we going to deliver Brexit? What is their... Seriously,
Noel in
that's
Gloucester
what
has
they
a
want.
All right, that was 2 minutes. How many children have you got? Not a difficult question, is it? Well, for most people. Why would you not answer that question? Oh, here we go. Why would I go? I'm not from the US. Is that the EDL? No, I think they're just in. Well, I mean, it's they're drunk imbeciles. I mean, there's very in every sort of like appreciable way. How's the housing? Oh, brilliant! I've got to be out by. Well, it looks like I've got to be out by Friday. I've luckily found. The people who live downstairs who I'm friends with. Of kindly allowing me to leave my stuff down there, and I'm probably going to have to go back to Kent for a short period of time to find until I find somewhere. I have booked in. I have got an appointment to view a place, which is moving to a better place. No, mate, I'm not moving anywhere. I've got no choice but to move. We're being kicked out because this building is, according to the fire safety inspector who came along and checked it, to quote his words, a death trap. Those were his words. This is a death trap. The landlord don't even fucking own it anymore. This building went in a receivership
about a month ago. Did he tell anybody? Did he bollocks? I found out when the receivers turned up last week, and they informed me. And then 2 days later, the fire safety people turn up, and they declare this place to be basically a fucking a death trap. And me, the 4 geezers who live with me, and the 2 geezers and the 2 people who live across the street have been given 3 days to fucking move out because they've got to fucking shut it down. And and I asked them, I said, why are you only, I've lived here for years. Why are you only just finding this out? Do you know why? Because the fucking cunt landlord didn't tell them. He never told anybody he was renting this place out. He never told anybody he was building this fucking wooden staircase in between to join the 2 buildings together. They had no fucking idea. And whilst I've got other things, and quite, and at the moment I've got to sort out other things, but there's got to be, surely, some legal recourse that I could fucking take there. So this guy knowingly let us stay and charged us rent for several years to live in a building that he had not had, that was determined to be a death trap, and that he had not informed the council about. No, there's no point. Listen, all of that. The fact is, I've got to be out of here in 3 days. I can't be fucking, I can't be worrying about anything else at the moment, but getting somewhere to stay. That is my main focus. When that's fucking sorted, then I will look into anything else. But that's what I was fucking handed. At the moment, it looks like I said, I'm going to be leaving my stuff. It doesn't work, Spiker. Trust me. Don't fucking argue this with me. It's not like it's. Trust me. Just right. I literally spoke to the people today. Right. I know all the fucking. Look, but they don't apply here. Right. Yes, but here's the problem: the geezers who live in this building with this one flat area with me, right? They're from Romania. They only came here. They came here less than 2 months ago. And when they came here, he would have known. He would have known that this building had gone, but they didn't tell us. This is my point. This building went into receivership, and he didn't tell anybody, and he still collected fucking rent last month. And if this building's in receiverships, shut the fuck up. If this building's in receivership, then guess what? He doesn't own it. So who the fuck am I paying rent to? This building, technically, right now, doesn't belong to anybody. You know? And I'm telling you now, when I fucking leave here on Friday, if I see him, if I walk past him, if he fucking has the gall to say anything to me, I'm going to tell him to go fuck himself. So I hope your fucking place burns down, you cunt, when you're fucking sleeping at night. I ain't got no direct debit. Ginger, you don't have to fucking... No. Why not move to London? Spiker, could you, shut up? Why move to London? I hadn't thought of that. I don't want to move to London. You know? Because that's another thing, right? I'll move wherever I have to. I'd like to carry on living in this area. But here's the thing. I've lived here for fucking 5 years now. I like it here, right? everyone, everyone knows me, right? All the people in the shops know me. It's people. People are. There's people I can have. I have conversations with people. There's people I see in the street. There's a fucking homeless geezer I buy Mountain Dew for, and I've got him addicted to it. You know. I've got a slate. The chip shop down the road. I've got a slate with them. You know. I like it here. Right? I don't want to leave here. If I, Oh, the skate park. That's not my skate park. I don't fucking know. It's. I barely go there. It's not. It's too small. Yeah. You haven't got a slate, parasite. Yes, I'd like a jumbo battered sausage in small sausage batter, please. If you go to London, you'll be mugged or not appreciated. Buy the building. Offer? What do you mean buy the building? Dude, I can barely fucking make rent. Oh yes, yes, I'll buy a death trap, shall I? I'm sure I'll get a good price for it. I still won't be able to fucking live here. Bloody hell. It's like fucking Nicholas Van Hoogstraten. It's like... I like the fact we've got Ginger Greek doing bottom quotes and Lewis doing Alan Partridge quotes. No, the people who renovated it, it's nothing to do with the people who renovated it. The people who renovated it, I didn't take them for a ride, they just never finished, the amount of work that needs doing on it. What do you mean, do it up? With what? It's a death trap. You seem to have missed out this middle bit, Pen. Where, hello, Pen. Where I fucking, where I buy this building, this middle bit, where there's like called having money. Yeah. But, for those of you who always reminisce for the good old days, don't forget, always remember, I will be going back home to Kent for a couple of weeks at least. So, you'll have a little bit of a reminiscing, a little bit of nostalgia there. Me doing videos in my old room. And I'm not taking my computer with me. I'll take my phone with me, but What do you mean another tour of Faversham? I never really gave a tour of Faversham. Unless you're counting the fucking atheism. The what's his name? Shock of God video. Let's have a look here, see what's I'm just on the LBC page, hold on. Make a Netflix series, oh, for fuck's sake. Pardon me. Yes, but I didn't see. Yes, but I didn't know that, did I? Yeah, but exciting in what way? I mean, what good's it going to do anybody? You know. It's not going to get me. It's not going to help anyone get a. It's not going to help me out. It's not going to help anyone else out. Well, not if I already go to the pit. Like, no one's going to care. I mean, honestly, it's like Yeah, but I don't think they do. I think it's quite evident they don't give any shits at all. It's just that it's just something that's going to make life harder for there are still people who are going to be living in in other parts of the building, and I don't want to make life. People who live in places like this, they don't have many options. Like I said, the poor geezers who live, the other geezers who are in this part of the building with me, they've got to go back to Romania. They've just found that out today. They've just found out they've got 3 days to find somewhere else to live, or they've got to go back to fucking Romania. To be fair, I think even I would be amazed if there is any of my fucking deposit left, given my penchant for redecorating, and nailing everything to the wall, It's not about other people having it worse. It's like, I don't want to make, it just sounds like something that's, going to do nothing but cause hassle for other people and potentially make things worse for people who I don't want to make things worse for, And I am mad about it, but I'm not going to let it fucking I've got no choice. I've got to focus on my own, you know. Spiker, would you stop telling me shit I already know? No, Tommy Robinson. Dude, Ron, have a day off. Tommy Robinson's mob had my fucking address years ago. Why would they care about the local news in Market Harborough? You know? Oh, and how ironic. Jonathan Pye's last video was about homelessness. No, they didn't find me. They didn't. They were never told. They had no idea that these rooms were being. They were never told. It's his responsibility to tell. It's not up to them to find me. It's up to him to fucking tell people. You know, which when you consider, which if he wasn't telling people, you know, when you consider that part of my rent, part of the you know, one of the things that's included in my rent, apart from all the utility bills, is council tax. Well, he can't have possibly been paying council tax if the council didn't know I fucking existed until last week, you know. What shall we watch? What's on? Any requests? See if I can play something without fucking YouTube fucking me in the arse. You know? Spiker, would you stop arguing this with me? Please, just... Right? There's nothing anyone in this room is going to say that's going to change anything. The facts are what they are, right? I could sit here and dwell about it, or I can get the fuck... Pick myself up and get the fuck on with it. I'll tell you what you should watch. No, I've got nothing really to add to the Stephen Crowder thing. I mean, it was what it was, wasn't it? I mean, it's pretty much, it was just hilarious, wasn't it? I think as that's a good point, Colkey. Actually, I think as it's you know, as he died not that long ago. There's I think it's one of my favourite users, a guy called Oki's Weird Stories, as this really good documentary about John McAfee. So I think, if you don't know that much about John McAfee, nutter. Absolute nutter. I don't think he had half the brain power. I think he was fucking... I don't think he was stupid. I mean, he was just fucking... He was just a, yeah. He was a bit of a hedonist, to say that, in the same way that Joseph Fritzl was a bit kinky. Well, I mean, that might be... It's hard to say whether he was mentally unstable or that was just the drugs. It's very possible that, you know, there was. I mean, you know, he's the kind of he's the kind of geezer where you probably would see. Verify my age. Use my credit card. What the hell is this bullshit? Hold on. Hold on. I just watched this the other day and I didn't have to fucking get age verified. Okay. No. Oh, for God's sake. Well, I mean, he wasn't stupid. I mean, he wasn't like he weren't. McAfee weren't fucking stupid. He was he was eccentric. He was eccentric as all hell. But I mean, he wasn't fucking stupid. Hold on. If you're not subscribed to Oki, you should be, because he's very good. When YouTube lets you watch his fucking videos. Okay, that must have been added very recently. Okay. Fuck it, I watch that. Okay. Who here has heard of Thierry Tilly? No one? Good. He might have shot a geezer. He might have also raped a woman. I don't like having a buzz cut. I've had this haircut loads of times.
In the early 2000s, the French press began circulating an unbelievable story dubbed The Recluses of Montflanquin. It concerned 11 members of a wealthy family known as the Vidrines.
He does bastardise a lot of French words here, not that I care.
In an act of self-imposed isolation.
COVID.
The French newspaper Le Monde was the first to break the story with an article titled The Mystery of Montflanquin. The article contained interviews with baffled neighbors who told the paper that prior to sequestering themselves, the Vidrines were a well-liked and well-respected family in the village who had since become known as the local crackpots.
Munching
The
onions
Vidrines
and
later
going
sued
honky
the
honky
journalist who
honk.
wrote the article for an invasion of privacy and won. Those who knew the family said they started to notice their radical shift in behavior by mid-2001. Around that time, 11 members of the Vidrines family began to shun neighbors, friends, relatives, as well as even their own spouses and children. They accused everyone outside of their tight-knit group of secretly being Freemasons who intended to harm them and even outright kill them. On January 4th of 2002, a neighbor visited them to see what was wrong. She told Le Monde that she peered through the window and saw that, quote, they were all there, sitting motionless in the dark. The little visible light was from the dim glow of their Christmas tree. Anyone who tried to step onto their property, even the mailman, wouldn't be allowed past the gates. The family would immediately shout and warn them off. Sometimes visitors would be attacked. The question of what happened to the Vidrines what led to their collective insanity,
Yeah.
doesn't have any simple answers.
They're
But
French.
one thing is clear. The Vidrines were a perfectly normal family.
Now, here's something
until
about this geezer. This geezer here, Thierry Tilly. Right, here's the question. Is it just me, or does this geezer look completely different in every single picture? Right, just pay attention to every picture of him. And tell me that he doesn't, that you wouldn't know he was the same bloke looking in every photo.
thing is clear. The Vidrines were
That
a
one.
perfectly normal family until a
ain't
Rasputin-like
him.
con man named Thierry Tilly
There.
stepped into their lives.
Right? Did he not look completely different in every one of those pictures?
The Vidrines are an old family, an aristocratic family. Descending from a line of Protestant country landowners,
Inbred.
their history in the bucolic village of Montflanquin stems back to the 17th century during King Louis XIV's reign. The family owned a summer house in Montflanquin called Chateau Martel. Chateau Martel sat perched on a hill overlooking their land, spanning 50 hectares. There's a sense of timelessness to their
Hectares?
chateau
Who measures in
and
hectares
Montflanquin as a
anymore?
whole. Montflanquin, with its
Cunts,
winding
so-
arcades and 14th century medieval buildings, looks like something out of a fairy tale. So it's no wonder why it's known as one of the most beautiful and well-preserved medieval Bastide towns.
Also
in
means
all
they're
of France.
fucking broke.
A tight-knit clan, the Vidrines often spent their summers together at Chateau Martel.
Stick to
Their
their own,
children,
didn't they?
Who were all close in age, grew up riding bikes along the countryside, swimming in the lakes, and enjoying the idyllic paradise that is Montflanquin. They lived quiet lives of privilege. To their neighbors, they were a well-respected family of high standing who were known to organize village festivals and elaborate parties. The Vidrines were not, as one might imagine, an exorbitantly wealthy family. Instead,
never
were
are.
only aristocrats by name, meaning they still had to work. For example, Charles Henri
No,
de
it's an
Vidrine
acre
was
is
a
a football pitch.
gynecologist and obstetrician, as well as a former political candidate.
But then
Elaine was
not
the
all football
director
pitches
of
are
a
the same
Paris-based
size.
secretarial school. And their eldest brother, Philippe de Vidrine, was a civil engineer for Shell Oil.
Shell oil. That's
This
the-
story begins during the summer of 1997, when Ghislaine first met Thierry Tilly. During
different.
this time, Ghislaine was stressed and in over her head. A year earlier, she was part of a group of parents who took over their children's school when it was teetering on bankruptcy
Karens.
and was set to shut
The
down in the
Le
middle of the
Karens.
school year. They all had children who were close to finishing their studies at the school, so they figured that as long as they can keep it afloat until summer, their children could at least finish the term. Leading them was a lawyer named Vincent David, who helped them win their case against
Never
the school
trust a
staff.
geezer with two first
After a
names.
victory in court over teachers vying for the same position, Ghislaine was appointed a role as the school's director. However, the elation of this small victory over the
No, he
teachers
doesn't.
did not last, as there was still a lot to be done to keep the school from financial collapse. The school's myriad issues were as follows. Its coffers were empty.
It was French.
Its registration was plummeting. Its computer system was obsolete, and it was in desperate need of maintenance.
Did
was
it have
through
Microsoft
Vincent
Paint?
David that Ghislaine first met Thierry Tilly. She was looking for a cleaning company for the school, and Vincent David recommended Tilly's company for the job. Tilly, being a plain-looking, short-statured man, didn't leave a lasting impression at first. However, as time went on, Ghislaine found herself more and more drawn to him. And that was because he made himself indispensable to her. Whenever a setback took
They look
place,
different.
Tilly was there to fix
Different
it.
bloke.
For example, when she mentioned in passing that the school's computer system needed to be replaced, Tilly had it sorted out by the next day. Gradually, she began to trust and depend on him as a highly competent fixer of her problems. She was also taken in by his elusiveness. She wondered who this man was who she found to be discreet, eternally busy, and
Different
one step
bloke.
ahead of everybody else. He
Like a
was
little
always
Jimmy Nail.
dressed fashionably and always moving quickly as if he had many appointments to attend to. Thierry Tilly was a complete
Different bloke.
mystery to her.
What?
So she asked her lawyer, Vincent David, about him.
You'd spot that
Vincent
geezer a
told
mile
her
off,
that
wouldn't you?
Tilly was a highly connected man who owned 10 companies and who knew some very powerful people. When she asked him why such an influential person would spend his time helping a failing school, Vincent David told her that
'Cause he's
Tilly
about to
had
rid
taken
you,
an
love.
interest because he saw its potential. He added that Tilly was a trustworthy and philanthropic person. And
Right,
what
well,
Vincent
we've
David
already
said
discussed
next
that.
would
Yeah,
add
well,
an
you should have
extra
paid
layer to
attention then,
Tilly's
Ron.
mystique.
Shut up.
According to him, Tilly was so highly connected to influential people that the reason they were able to take over the school rather than the teachers was because Tilly intervened. After hearing that, Ghislaine began to see Tilly as a possessor of extraordinary powers, a man with enough say to influence even court proceedings. At the time, Ghislaine's son, Francois, had been facing difficulties in school, and Tilly was there to take the depressed and aimless boy under his wing in the form of an internship. He also listened to his problems and gave him advice. Ghislaine was thrilled that her underachieving son had Tilly as a mentor, and she believed that the bond her son had been forming with Tilly would bode well for his future. But what she didn't know at the time was that Tilly would go on to dominate her and her family's lives for the next 12 years. By the beginning of 1999, she hired him full-time. It was her lawyer, Vincent David, who persuaded Ghislaine to bring him on
Vincent
board
David,
in
on the
an
other end,
official
spell that
capacity.
geezer a mile
And in
off with that
little
face.
over a year, he helped the dwindling school increase its enrollment. First, he got her to rename the school from La Femme Secrétaire to IFSAD, Institution for the Formation of Superior Directorial Assistants. Along with the name change would be a change in direction, one that sought to attract international students, especially from China. In her memoir titled Diabolique, Ghislaine writes, "With Tilly's help, I'm certain that we will succeed and become the great international academy we dream of. And what psychological comfort for me. The man who understands me so well, who knows how to appease and advise me, is now with us, in our team. I could not have imagined a more promising solution."
She shagged him.
By this point, Ghislaine no longer made any decisions concerning the school without first consulting Tilly, believing that her decision-making alone was insufficient. This points to something subtle but crucial to Tilly's hold on her. By leaving her decision-making up to him, it shows that from very early on, she was willing to give up her autonomy, her agency, and was trusting that he wouldn't abuse such a one-sided power
Ball
dynamic.
gag in the mouth.
Spoilers, he did. Soon his salary was more than double hers, and he was being given bonuses that no other staff member was entitled to. Although his role was officially as just an assistant, he was effectively running the school and being paid the highest salary. This also left the school's coffers open for him to systematically bilk from until there was nothing left.
Wouldn't you love to have no conscience so you could fucking pull
With
stuff
Ghislaine,
like this off?
Tilly played a long con.
Wouldn't you just love
He
to be able to
spent
do
3
this and
years
not give a
becoming
shit?
trusted friend before making any major moves. In Ghislaine, Tilly had found the perfect mark. Like most victims of con artists and cult manipulation, she was vulnerable and in a stressful, transitory period of her life. As Stephen Hassan, one of the leading experts on the topic of destructive cults, writes,
Fucking Neil
quote,
from The Young
stress
Ones.
is often due to some kind of major transition. Moving to a new town, starting a new job, breaking off a relationship, experiencing financial instability, or losing a loved one. People in such situations tend to have defense mechanisms that are overloaded or weakened. If they don't know how to spot and avoid destructive cults, they are easy prey. Ghislaine fit this profile perfectly.
You're not too
She was
ambitious,
stressed
are you?
from
What
running
do you want to be a
school
cult
that
leader
was nearly
for?
bankrupt.
So I want my
She
own
was
place.
grieving the recent deaths of her father and her older sister. That same year, her husband, Jean Marchand, had his magazine go bankrupt. As a result, he had his own problems, giving him a great deal of stress.
He decided
and
to
wasn't
open a
always there
magazine
to
in
listen to her.
1999.
The distance she was experiencing in her
When
marriage left her
print
wanting
media
for
was
someone
just
to lean
taking
on.
off.
Then Tilly arrived at the perfect moment to support her. He listened to her, offered solutions to her problems, mentored her son Francois, and promised her a brighter future for her failing school. Whenever she confided in Tilly, their dynamic was analogous to a patient bearing her soul to a therapist. Just like a therapist,
bearing her
Tilly never
fucking
really
spreading
shared
her
anything
legs.
about himself. Instead, he just listened. She'd share liberally, completely unaware that he was listening, not out of concern, but instead to size up his prey. He was probing her for her weaknesses, her vulnerabilities, and her idiosyncrasies.
Fucking
And he
spiders.
did this all so he could better ensnare her. She was so seduced by his concern for her school and personal life that she shared everything without thinking. As she told him
Massive
about her
cock.
family, their conflicts, disagreements, jealousies, rivalries, values, and their hierarchical system, Tilly took mental notes and didn't forget a single word. He probed her for details.
Bet he did.
Details he would later use to manipulate her and 10 other members of her family. This is also how Tilly came to know of the properties that her family owned, as well as the bigger picture of their lives. August 2000. Terry Tilly meets the family. Like most summers, the family spent it together at
Meet
Chateau
Le
Martel.
Fouquets.
Unlike most summers, Ghislaine de Vidrine had invited an enigmatic man to spend it with them named Terry Tilly. Inside the walls of the manor, Tilly's pending arrival was one thing on everybody's minds. According to what Ghislaine had told them about him, Terry Tilley was an extremely intelligent and highly influential man who rubbed shoulders with those belonging to the upper echelon of society. He knew former presidents, business leaders, and possessed an address book enviable by the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Not Jeffrey Epstein.
She let them know just how much he had changed her life and how much he could
Prince
change
Andrew.
theirs. Therefore, when Terry Tilley arrived for dinner that night, members of the Vidrians' clan had already been primed to be quickly taken in by him. Sat at the head of the table, he spoke unreservedly. He appeared to be refined, cultured, and erudite. Whatever the topic of discussion, Tilley had something insightful to say about it, and he seemed to possess an expertise in all domains.
Always be wary
He
of
spoke
people
with
like that.
familiarity about methods of
People who
encryption
know
with
something
Ghislaine's
about
nephew,
everything.
Frederic,
They
who
don't.
was an engineer
They know
at
just
Microsoft.
enough to get
He
by.
imparted legal advice to another family member, warning them that their property business was almost certainly illegal. With Charles Henri's son, Guillaume, he used, quote, terminology that
Guillaume,
revealed a knowledge
Guillaume,
of information technology
Guillaume.
completely inaccessible to the general public. Tilley spent the entire month of August staying in a rental house close by to the Vidrine Chateau. He visited them every day and had long one-on-one chats with family members. One-on-one was Tilley's preferred method of conversation.
Bet it was,
He was
yeah.
like a chameleon adjusting himself to better match his
Comma,
interlocutors
comma,
in order
comma,
to better
chameleon.
win their favor. With Philippe, he used his background as a civil engineer and former member of the French army to flatter him.
French
he would
army.
say things like, Philippe, you were in Algeria. You've been under fire. You're the only one who understands
You've run
what
away
I'm
from
talking
stuff.
about."
Yeah.
And Philippe, you should be the president of Shell Oil. Philippe later told Ghislaine of his admiration for Tilley, calling him a remarkable man marked by respect for tradition, yet carrying a vision for the future of humanity. But what impressed them most about Tilley was the influence he seemed to wield over courts and government agencies. It appeared to them that he was able to step in
Look
and
at
help
that
them
cunt with his
overcome
fucking...
impossible
Any
battles
geezer who wears a
which they
sweater
were
like
sure
that.
they had already lost. One such case occurred when Ghislaine advised her brother, Charles Henri, to seek counsel from Tilley about the family's ongoing legal problem associated with the sale of one of their properties in Lacaz, which had severe structural damage. The new owners had alleged that the family had sold them the home while concealing its damage. The case was handed over to Vincent David, with Tilley playing an advisory role. Soon, the Vidrines learned that the legal suit against them had been dropped, a development which they attributed to Thierry Tilley. Another example of Tilley demonstrating his sway
Backhander,
over official
mate.
matters occurred when the music festival, which Ghislaine organized annually, was put under review due to matters concerning grants. Ghislaine worked tirelessly over the next few days, going through the festival's books and putting together a report. Just when she was about to hand it in, Tilley stopped her.
Aurini's
telling her that he would
Aurini's
speak to
cult.
them on her behalf.
Aurini's got a
An hour
skull.
later, he
That's his
returned,
cult.
telling her that everything was in order and that she wouldn't have to pay a cent. After winning over the rest of Ghislaine's family, he offered them financial advice. He suggested that they allow him to review their portfolios to see if their financial investments were in the right place. Upon review,
Right, they
he
appear
told them
to
that
not
they
be
weren't.
in my
He
bank
then
account.
implied that their financial advisors were not dependable. Tilley claimed that he could vastly increase the value of their capital if they entrust their investments with his company called Presswell Limited. Tilley advised them that he could get them 11 to 14% return on their investments per month, which he claimed to be able to do because of his insider knowledge of world markets. After a month, somehow he delivered. Going forward, he became a daily fixture in their lives. He wined and dined them at expensive restaurants in Paris and London. He let Guillaume, Charles Henri's
Guillaume.
son, stay in his condo in the center of Manhattan, while Guillaume was in New York
Guillaume.
for an internship. There, he introduced the young man to a real estate billionaire named Charles F., who owned some 20 high-rise buildings in Manhattan and was one of the most influential property developers in New York. Tilley seduced them with the promise of money, investments, connections.
I don't think
and
they
held
are
an
just
easy
skulls. I
game
think
for
they were
themselves
actually
and
his
for their children.
flatmates who
They were all thrilled by the idea that a
removed
man
their
of his
fucking-
stature and prominence had become their own
who've just
personal
wasted away and he
confidant
hasn't
and close
noticed yet.
friend. Which is perhaps why, in their intoxicated glow, they accepted the insane shit that he told them next. Brace yourself, because what I'm about to say is a lot to take in. He told the family about a conspiracy targeting them. He said that he was a member of a secret governmental organization whose mission was to guarantee balance in the world by fighting against all forms
Now,
of
big
corruption.
giveaway.
He told them that he was actually
probably
a
wouldn't
secret
tell you
agent
that.
sent to protect them from enemies targeting them. According to him, his secret society, an offshoot of the Knights of the Round Table, sought out great and deserving families in order to ensure their survival by protecting them from their enemies. He told them that Freemasons and Rosicrucians were everywhere. He told them to beware of homosexuals and Jews.
Well, that's just good
He
advice.
said that
You know
it
what I
was
mean?
their
That's just-
family's destiny to stand up for good against evil, as their ancestors had done during the reign of Louis XIV in resisting Catholic oppression. He told them that enemies wanted to ruin their family, to destroy them, and to make them disappear because they, the Vidrines, were a living memory of what nobility used to mean, and that they reflected the greatness of what France once was. He told them that their family was one of the chosen few who would help restore France to what it used to be. And guess what? They believed him.
Fucking cunts.
Throughout the time that Thierry Tilly spent with the Vidrines, he shared a lot about
Blackface.
himself. However,
Racist.
most of what he shared about his past was just straight up lies. He said that his mother was barely more than a child when she had him at the age of 14, that she would have been a championship figure skater if he hadn't been born. He claimed that his father was a naval frogman
And a
who worked for the
pedophile,
special
apparently.
services for the Ministry of Defense. He said that at one time he was a semi-pro tennis player, as well as a semi-pro footballer who almost played for Marseille as a goalkeeper. He claimed that he was also a lawyer, a pilot, a professional skier, and that he parachuted from a military plane when he was only 12 years old. He claimed that he was ambidextrous and could play tennis with
I'm
both
ambidextrous.
hands.
I can
He
do
bragged that
fuck
he could
all with
run
both
1,000
hands.
meters in 3 minutes and 15 seconds. He claimed that he knew the former French president, Francois Mitterrand, personally, as well as celebrities such as Brigitte Bardot, Pierre Richard, Sophie Marceau, and Lillian Bettencourt.
Oh.
He also said that he was related to the Queen of England. According to him, he was a descendant of the Habsburgs family, which is of Austro-Hungarian nobility. A strange claim to make, since the Habsburgs are notorious
They
for
weren't
the
even.
royal
They,
inbreeding.
that's what they
His virtual
actually look
account
like,
of his
those fucking
schooling was
dribbling
even more
bastards.
convoluted. He said that after he studied law, he received advanced placement into a school specializing in intelligence training for diplomats and soldiers. He claimed that he then gained a PhD in marketing and a specialist degree
'Cause that's
in
what
the
you'd get.
detection of counterfeit money. He said that he had a master's degree in property management and administration, as well as a degree in international economy. Then he claimed that he studied what he described as
He must have been
intelligence
very
concerning
busy.
codes of investment.
I mean,
in
this
relation
sounds
to
like a
corruption.
lot of-
Of course,
lot of
all
shit
these
he's
claims
got
were
on.
lies. No records exist backing up anything he said. When a judge questioned him years later in court, he attempted to confuse the discussion by listing a rapid succession of dates, names, and places. When pressed further, he simply claimed that he could prove it. Then he claimed that his records were seized by Scotland Yard due to matters of national security. Okay, so, now that we went through his claims, here's the real story of who Thierry Tilly actually is. Thierry Tilly was born on March 29th, 1964. He was a somewhat frail and sickly child who experienced convulsions as well as problems with his eyesight, which had to be operated on. He grew up in a modest home. His father was a driver and his mother was a nurse.
His
Although
father was a
Thierry
driver.
Tilly was endowed with a
What, he had a
remarkable
car?
memory and possessed an encyclopedic knowledge of historical facts and dates, he was never a gifted student. After high school, he applied for entry into a naval college, but his application was rejected. Thierry Tilly lived with his parents until he was 30. During his 30s,
wrong
he
with that.
developed an interest in business. However, all of his ventures failed spectacularly. This was not because Tilly was incompetent, but rather it was because he was a crook. The little that's known about Thierry Tilly's past scams all involve one man, a lawyer named Vincent David. Yes, the very same Vincent David who first introduced Ghislaine to Tilly. The two met during the mid-1980s, and throughout the following years they remained close friends. Vincent David recalled in court that, quote, "At first I found him congenial. He asked me to sort out various accounts which it turned out could only be done through their liquidation. Without this, the company concerned would have had to close. I discovered later on that he won people's trust, got them to sign contracts, and then took matters no further. He wanted to dispose of a considerable number of companies whose articles of association remained vague. Initially, Vincent David wanted to help Tilly, so he provided him with legal advice free of charge. Although he wasn't entirely sure what
kind
exactly
of lawyer
it
does
was
that?
Tilly did for work, he believed that Tilly was brilliant and had a lot of potential. Therefore, it wasn't long before Tilly
Everyone's got
was able to
potential.
rope Vincent into a scheme. Tilly claimed to be developing several luxury apartments in the Alps, and he wanted Vincent David to jump on board as an investor and as his legal representation. Tilly said he couldn't pay him, but instead he promised to give him keys to one of his
I'll get you in on the
apartment
ground
units
floor,
once
bruv.
construction was done. Tilly also promised Vincent David a large return on his investment. The deal eventually collapsed, and Vincent David found himself stuck with an 18-month bill for unpaid rent of an apartment which Tilly was staying in. Vincent David later said in court that he still trusted Tilly even after that, since he saw him as a young man
brat.
who was trying to take his first steps into the world of business. Not too long after that, Vincent David introduced Tilly to the heir of a champagne company named Hughes Gosset. Then Tilly defrauded the heir, who for some reason never lodged a complaint. Whether Vincent David knew that Tilly had scammed Hughes Gosset is unknown. Regardless, Vincent David continued to associate with Tilly. Vincent David even let him stay at his home for some time, before his wife kicked him out after Tilly had traveled to Nice in order to make a list of property belonging to her family. In court, Vincent David said of his wife, quote, "She realized before I did that his objective was to get his claws into rich people and to live off of their capital. He is brilliant, there's no question about that, but he employs his intellectual faculties in a scandalous manner. He manages to maneuver people into a position of veritable intellectual subjection." Last time I talked about how Thierry Tilly slowly won the Madrine's trust and then told them that they were the targets of a plot. What I left out in that
That's what I need to
video
do.
was that
You need to
not
find a
every member
bunch
of
of
the family
fucking
fell for his lies. For
complete
example,
mugs
while
like
the rest
this.
of the family trusted Tilly, Ghislaine's husband, Jean Marchand, did not. Jean Marchand,
Did you
who was
know?
a financial
Hello.
journalist for
And just-
well-known
just
papers in France,
lure them
was
in
also
and
a
then just
highly
say, "Hello,
educated and
my name's
worldly
James
man.
Bond."
At one point, he was the youngest editor-in-chief of a newspaper
Not a
in
lot of
France.
people know that.
In 1997, he launched a magazine, but it ultimately went bankrupt. Jean Marchand first met Tilly at an annual dinner for Ghislaine's school in the year 2000. After they spoke, Ghislaine asked her husband what she thought of him. Foolish was the word he used to describe Thierry Tilly, who had wasted no time before telling him that he was a secret agent. Jean tried to warn his
Yeah,
wife
it's not
that
an
Tilly was
inspiration.
a
Like
fraud.
most
His
inspirational
warnings
quotes, it's
fell on
not
deaf
actually that
ears.
inspirational.
Ghislaine was already under Tilly's spell and was far too gone to be reasoned with. Over the next
You know,
few months, Jean Marchand continued
I mean, everyone's
to
got
run into
potential.
Tilly.
I mean,
Jean
Schrodinger's
noticed that
rapist
Tilly frequently borrowed money from people, but never
proves
seemed
that
to pay
everyone's
for his
got
own
potential.
expenses. He recalled how
Yeah.
Tilly told him that his briefcase would explode if someone other than himself ever touched it. A statement which turned out to be an unbelievably silly bit of fiction. One night, Jean stormed
Don't
out during
touch
the
my
middle of
briefcase.
dinner, exasperated by
explode.
Tilly's boasts and lies.
That's a
Years
smart
later, he
feature to
told the
add to a
journalist,
briefcase,
quote,
isn't it?
Tilly said he belonged to an extraordinary network, that he knew everyone who was anyone.
I can't see
He
that
mentioned
fucking
some
going
kind
wrong.
of very mysterious supranational agency that was above NATO in the UN. He suggested that this thing was all-powerful and he belonged to it, and that therefore he could do everything he wanted. He was so bizarre that I couldn't take him seriously, and I distrusted him. Because of Jean's distrust, Tilly began to make a habit of regularly demonizing him, telling Ghislaine that he had proof that Jean was cheating on her and was planning to leave their marriage.
With
Then
me.
he added that he had evidence that Jean was also part of the Judeo-Masonic plot targeting her. Although she was dissatisfied with her marriage to Jean, she still loved him deeply. So Tilly knew he had to gradually chip away at their bond over time, and that he did. It took a little over a year, but she started to believe that her husband, Jean Marchand, was in league with their enemies, and that her parents-in-law were as well. But Tilly didn't stop just there. He also claimed that her older
Oh, so
sister,
she thought
Anne,
her in-laws were
who died
evil,
of a
big
brain
whoop.
tumor in 1997, was instead murdered by her brother-in-law, who was also part of the sect. Going forward, Tilly continued to play the role of a secret agent, telling Ghislaine that his job at the school was only part of his cover. Over time, he added in more details, such as that there were other agents close by who were working with him. Sometimes he would make a show of nodding at a random passerby, and then claim that they were part of his team,
He would look at
telling
him and
her
go,
that they were all on the same mission. Whenever an issue would arise for her or the school, Tilly would find a way to blame it on unseen enemies. Tilly warned her that Freemasons wanted to hurt her, her family, and that she must be vigilant, implying that they are everywhere, even within the inner workings of the school. Soon it wasn't only strangers that she had to be wary of, but also her colleagues, family, friends,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
even
That's what he
Ozma.
would say, wouldn't it?
Tilly
You know?
explained that part of his mission duties was making
It's
the
that
parking
old
list of Jews and
conspiracy
Freemasons. Ironically,
Catch
Tilly
22,
himself
isn't
had
it?
been a
It's
member
like,
of
you know,
the
you accuse
Freemasons
someone of
before being
something,
removed for
and they
embezzlement.
say, no, I'm not. And they go,
Then he
that's
started
exactly what
claiming
you
that
would
through
say
his
if you were.
sources, He learned that the school was being eyed by a Masonic group since it was prime real estate. He warned her that in order to acquire it, they would use nefarious and deadly tactics. She became increasingly more paranoid of the enemies which Tilly spoke of. She lost 12 kilos and began to wear thick, dark sunglasses indoors and
Shut
out.
up, Spiker.
She believed people were following her wherever she went. She warned faculty members to watch out for Freemasons. A staff member at the school.
How do you
told
do
Ben
that?
to be
How do you
careful.
watch out
We
for
could not have heat in the
Freemasons?
school because the fuel tank was empty. When I told Elaine that it had to be filled, she replied that the Jews and Freemasons had siphoned it.
The
and that it was a
Jews had been. I
Judeo-Masonic
think you would
plot.
notice
At
some
Tilly's
Jews
behest,
with a
Elaine
hose
renovated
pipe
the
siphoning the
groundskeeper's quarters
fucking.
at the school for him to live in, and hired a guard
Siphoning
to
the
patrol
fucking
premises
petrol out of
with a
the-
Rottweiler on a leash. She did this because she believed that Tilly needed an inconspicuous location to reside in due to his life as a secret agent. Following that, Tilly convinced Ghislaine to set up surveillance cameras at the school. She did this after he told her that his guard was overwhelmed with having to protect them from Freemasons and Rosicrucians by himself. By mid-2001, the school officially shut down. It was put into liquidation with a heavy liability and was in the process of declaring itself bankrupt. However, Tilly told Ghislaine that the shutdown was only a temporary measure, and Ghislaine herself wasn't very concerned. She genuinely believed that she didn't have to worry because she was under the protection of Tilly's supranational organization, which the French government and courts were subordinate to. Additionally, she believed that Freemasons wanted to kill her family, which she saw as a more pressing concern than her failed school. What strengthened Tilly's claims that they were the target of a plot was that suddenly a string of mishaps began to plague the family. Elaine's son,
Spiker,
Francois,
would you
was
shut
beaten
the
up in
fuck
subway.
up?
4 of their cars were stolen in quick succession. Charles Henri's gynecology office was flooded because of a gutter blocked by a blouse. Christine's car randomly caught fire at a toll booth. Then a farm trailer and some seed was stolen from one of their sheds. Tilly told them that the trailer would reappear within a week, and just like he said, it did. Without any intervention on their part,
He probably
Christine's small
whacked
holding
himself
account was
silly every
credited
night,
with a
I imagine.
reimbursement of the cost of the stolen seed. When 2 of their cows died after swallowing barbed wire, even the vet who examined the animals was baffled. Following
yeah,
that,
'cause cows
2/3
don't
of their
normally
estate
eat
was
barbed
threatened
wire.
by a plan for a reservoir
They're not
designed
that
for the
stupid.
irrigation of crops. Tilly promised them that he would stop it from happening. And although the plan had been fiercely contested by the inhabitants throughout the region, Tilly took sole credit for stopping it. Whether many of these misfortunes were manufactured by Tilly himself remains unknown. Soon,
What
Tilly
is your
persuaded
problem with
them
the
to stop
editing? There's
paying their
nothing wrong with
taxes.
it.
He told them to send the money they owed to the fisc directly to him so he could do so. on
Eating
his behalf.
barbed wire is
Of
not
course, he
metal
never
poisoning,
did.
Spiker,
Tilly
you
encouraged
fucking
other members of
cretin.
the family to beef up their security as well. He visited Philippe's home and installed security cameras and reinforced shutters. There he made acquaintance with Philippe's partner Bridget and warned her that her ex-husband was a Freemason and that she was being watched. Bridget fully believed him when he told her that her ex-husband wanted to seize her, lock her up, throw her into a psychiatric hospital, and then empty her bank accounts. Tilly then gave her what he called an encrypted phone, and she transferred 115,000 euros to him for protection. Philippe's partner Bridget became convinced that all strangers were potential kidnappers. She saw random inconsequential things such as seeing a suspicious white car make an abrupt turn, or seeing a man peek over his newspaper while she passed, as a sign that she was being followed. Terrified, she soon became reluctant to even leave her house. By this point, Thierry Tilly had successfully reprogrammed the family into a cult. The paranoia and fear which he instilled in them had changed them from an ordinary group of people into puppets who would do anything he told them to, believing that he was the only one that could keep them safe. Thus what followed was the family successively banishing loved ones from their lives, while further isolating themselves from the rest of the world. One amazing thing about this story is that by March of
Another
2001, Thierry Tilly fled France and moved to England indefinitely in order to escape from a 1-year sentence for fraudulent bankruptcy. Before leaving, he told Ghislaine that he was relocating to England for his mission duties. Incredibly, his influence over the family continued. Going forward, their main form of communication with him was only by phone and email.
What, scouts
And
for
as
grown men
unbelievable
full of
as it
sexual
sounds,
deviants.
He was still able to manipulate them, even though he was in a different country. Such was the case during September of 2001, when Tilly vetted the guest list for 2 back-to-back events that the family were hosting: Elaine's daughter's wedding and Ghislaine's yearly music festival. During the wedding between her daughter Guillemette and a young pianist from Nice named Sebastian, certain relatives were
A young
shunned, and
pianist,
some were even
bloody
barred
hell.
from entry. Elaine's widowed brother-in-law and his children were included on Tilly's list of those who were prohibited from attending the wedding. Ghislaine even called her brother-in-law herself to inform him that he would not be invited because she had information that he was secretly a Freemason. Ghislaine's husband, Jean Marchand, and his parents also made it onto Tilly's list of potential enemies. Although they still attended Guillemotte's wedding, they were purposely given the cold shoulder by the Vidrines. In his book Diabolique, co-written by Ghislaine, Jean Marchand writes that he felt completely isolated from his family during the wedding, even while walking his own daughter down the aisle. A week later, during Ghislaine's annual music festival, Tilly imposed an even stricter control over the guest list than at the wedding. Tilly told them to treat certain family members with open hostility. And the festival ended disastrously when Charles Henri got into a fistfight with one such family member. Going forward, it didn't matter who Tilly accused of being a Freemason. Old friends, husbands, wives,
Everyone's a
children.
Freemason.
If he said they were one, well then that was that. Case in point, shortly after the music festival, the Vadrines turned on Ghislaine's husband Jean Marchand and ousted him from their lives. Months prior to his removal from the family, Jean Marchand had asked Ghislaine for a technical divorce in order to protect their property. His reasoning was that he wanted to avoid both of them being involved in the inevitable bankruptcy of Ghislaine's school. He also wanted to save their remaining property, but had no intention of leaving Ghislaine. However, due to Tilly's past claims that Jean was a serial cheater who was planning to leave her for another woman and settle in the United States, Ghislaine mistook Jean's request of a technical divorce for a legitimate one, and Tilly used their miscommunication to ramp up his accusations against Jean. Jean Marchand's banishment from the family took place on September 7th of 2001. It all began after Ghislaine found 2 items on her lawn. One was an oddly placed bouquet of flowers, and the other was a single glove.
With a hand in
testament
it.
to how paranoid they were by this point that finding these innocuous items put both Ghislaine and her brother Philippe into a state of absolute panic. After finding the flowers and the glove, Ghislaine immediately called Tilly in London. As mentioned earlier, Tilly didn't like Jean Marchand, especially since he couldn't control him. Prior to this, he had spent over a year demonizing Jean while speaking to Ghislaine and the rest of the family. Hence, he used the situation to spin an elaborate story so he could finally get rid of Jean Marchand. On the phone, Tilly told Ghislaine, quote, "These are the evil signs of the network to which Jean belongs. The glove means that they're going to cut off your hand, and the bouquet of flowers means that you are near death. So listen to me. You'll pick them up and put them in a bag,
fucking
and
tarot
then you'll
card.
throw them at Jean's feet after doing exactly what I tell you." After finishing what Tilly told her to do, she stopped at Philippe's house where she dropped off her bags. Then they waited for their brother Charles Henri to arrive. Tilly insisted that she be accompanied by her 2 brothers because they were all going to confront her husband Jean together. Then Tilly sent her an email detailing exactly what she had to say to Jean and even the time when to do so, 3:30 p.m. At 3:30 p.m. on the dot, the trio drove back to Ghislaine's house. There they found Jean Marchand. Following the instructions that Tilly had emailed to her, Ghislaine threw the glove and the bouquet of flowers at her husband's feet. Then she recited the following. "Jean, here are the evil signs of your network that I have found in our garden in Fontenay. You have half an hour to pack up and leave this house. I know that you are part of a sect and have over 40 mistresses. Go back without turning around and
Bitch, what
reassure
you
yourself.
talking about?
Uninitiated and weak beings like me, who have no soul and who are just good at being objects, can also have no regrets nor remorse because it's always life that prevails against the non-life of the initiates." Afterward, Jean attempted to reason with her, but to no avail. Then, suddenly, a physical altercation occurred. Then Ghislaine's brothers, Charles Henri and Philippe, clumsily grabbed at Jean's clothes and started dragging him to the door. After a great deal of struggle, Jean told them that he understood and that he would leave by himself. Following that, he packed his things and walked out the door. Soon, Jean learned that his joint account with Ghislaine had been emptied. A banker told him that a week earlier, Ghislaine had transferred their money and savings to a bank called National Westminster. She had left him penniless and in severe debt once his taxes
Westminster,
came in.
mate, not minister.
Following that, he was only able to get by due to a 10-month payment plan he had arranged with his bank and also with the help of his parents and friends. Months after he was banished from the family, Jean left them a voicemail message which made Tilly's claims that he was part of a sect more believable. The message he left went, quote, "You, the family of Vadrines, vermin
Just
that
him
you
get
are,
drunk
we are going to
off
see
his
to
arse
you.
and go,
You're
this
on
is
your
my
own.
house."
You're isolated, and you're already done for. The bailiffs will soon be there. You're finished." Jean's use of the
Ghislaine?
word "we" only
Ghislaine?
reinforced the theory
I'm drunk,
that he was
Ghislaine.
part of a plot against them.
I'm
Going
drunk. You know what?
forward, John would
It's
be
beautiful.
cut off from his children, his wife, it's
beautiful,
his
Ghislaine.
family for the next 8 years. Even when his mother died of mesenteric ischema,
Do you hear that
only a
phone
month
ringing?
later, all of
Bing!
John's phone calls were ignored by his estranged family. Moreover,
Bing!
none of them attended his mother's funeral. Not even
It's not
his
me,
children or
motherfucker,
his
that's the
wife.
phone.
Although Ghislaine writes that she loved her mother deeply and was very close to her, Tilly implored her not to attend the funeral because he claimed to have information that it was a trap to take her to a mental hospital. 48 hours after the
Tilly comes in,
confrontation
goes,
with
I
John,
put rules
Tilly
on the
instructed
refrigerator.
Philippe,
Okay,
Bridget, and
Ghislaine
Ghislaine to sequester
cannot
themselves inside of her
use
school, which by
the
then had
phone.
been shut down and abandoned. Tilly told them that
Ghislaine
since they were
can,
no
and since you're
longer
such a
paying
smart
any rent,
motherfucker,
they
you
must
can't go
occupy the
outside
building
either.
until he aided them in reopening it. Thinking that they would only stay there for a few days and that Tilly was working on a life-saving plan for the school, they squatted there. However, Ghislaine Philippe and his partner Bridget ended up staying in the school for the next 4 months. Tilly was the only person they spoke to during this period. He called them a dozen times per day with updates and orders. He assured them that he had agents on the ground ready to neutralize any approaching enemy, but he added that they must take extra precautions to stay safe. Tilly only allowed the trio to go out on rare occasions. They lived on a shoestring budget without basics like heat, electricity, and hot water. By December, the repo men arrived.
Living
They
in
seized
Norfolk.
any assets from Ghislaine's school which could be sold to sponge off the debt accumulated from unpaid rent. Once again, Ghislaine was unfazed by this because Tilly insisted that he had everything under control. On the 15th of December, Tilly warned her that Jean's network of enemies was converging in on her and that they had to leave the school immediately. He told them that Jean had hired assassins to kill them. He added that these assassins were Asian. Terrified, they evacuated
Agent.
the school and
Not
sped
just
away
any
in his
assassin,
car.
agent
About 60
assassins.
kilometers away from Paris, Tilly called and told Ghislaine
Who,
that
as we
Jean
know,
had attached
the
an explosive
most
device to
dangerous
Philippe's
kind of
machine,
assassin.
and that it would explode at any minute. He then ordered them to stay calm and abandon the car as soon as possible. In a hurry, they took a train to Montplancan, feeling as though they were refugees after their months of seclusion, and with the power of Jean's network becoming even more threatening. There's an important person in this story who I've yet to mention, and that's a former car salesman named Jacques Gonzalez. Jacques Gonzalez was first introduced to the Vidrines
course there's a
as
car
Tilly's
salesman
boss,
involved.
and as the president of a secret organization which helped protect aristocratic families from Judeo-Masonic plots targeting them. The Vidrines never knew much more than vague tidbits about Jacques Gonzalez. According to Philippe, he was the cousin of the Spanish king Juan Carlos and led a very discreet existence in Paris. Other family members said that he was the leader of a global network of secretive grandees and held more power than the presidents of France, Russia, and the United States. Whenever Tilly spoke to him on the phone, he would do so with hushed tones and would quickly move to another room to take the call in private. One day, Jacques Gonzalez visited Ghislaine's school. The halls were cleared, and no one was permitted to get a good look at him. Only one teacher saw what she described as a short man wearing a hat and moving quickly down the hall. Jacques Gonzalez was also said to be the head of a charity based in Quebec called the Blue Light Foundation, which purportedly funded various philanthropic endeavors such as the building of hospitals in China, bulk purchases of alfalfa intended to alleviate famine, and open cast coal mining. Jacques Gonzalez is a strange part of this story, and that's because, for some unknown reason, Tilly shared a great deal of the money he stole from the Vidrines with him. Interestingly enough, while Gonzalez's phone was wiretapped by authorities, he was recorded telling his girlfriend that he thought Tilly was either ill or totally mad. In court, Tilly
you
alleged
think?
that Gonzalez was the puppet master of the whole affair. He claimed that he was manipulated by Gonzalez into defrauding the Vidrines. He also claimed that the family had sought him out first, seeking his advice for tax evasion.
Yes,
Jack
they
Gonzalez
asked.
claimed
They
that he had
asked
no
me to
knowledge of
fucking.
what was happening, and that he simply believed that the Vidrines were a generous family who were happy to donate their money
Who
to
were
the Blue Light
bonkers
Foundation.
mental.
He said in court, quote, "If I had known what Thierry was doing, I would have never gone along with it." Although he insisted that he was
Yeah,
innocent
bollocks,
of any
mate.
wrongdoing, there exist tapes from a wiretap operation of him pressuring Tilly to send him money. In court, a transcript of the phone call was read out loud, and he was quoted as saying, "I've had it up to here with these people. They must cough up the cash. If not, things will turn nasty. Execution." Regardless, he continued to claim that he was innocent, arguing in court that the phone call in no way proved his complicity, and that he simply became worked up while pressuring Tilly to hand over the money he promised to the Blue Light Foundation. Additionally, he said that since all of the money he received had been sent by Tilly, he wasn't responsible for the manner in which it was acquired. Either way, there's no doubt of Gonzalez's involvement in Tilly's defrauding of the Vidrines. Although what remains unclear is exactly why Gonzalez's involvement was needed or beneficial to Tilly at all. Whenever Thierry Tilly sensed potential dissent from one of the Vidrines, his go-to strategy was to divide and conquer. He did so by demonizing an individual, and then encouraging the more convicted members of the family to oust them from the group. By this point in the story, he had already accomplished this with Jean Marchand, and he would go on to do the same with Jean and Elaine's son-in-law, Sebastian, who had married into the family only a few months prior. The last remaining connection Jean had to his family was with his son-in-law, Sebastian. Sebastian still called Jean from time to time, and even wanted to attend his mother's funeral, but was discouraged from doing so by the rest of the family. After their honeymoon, Sebastian and Guillemette lived happily in Nice for some months, but by late December of 2001, Their marriage was ready to collapse due to the manipulations of Thierry Tilly. Sebastian told Jean that Guillemette had changed since they returned from their honeymoon. She suddenly became prone to anxiety attacks. She spent most of her time corresponding with her mother on the phone or via email. In an interview, Sebastian said, quote, Guillemette explained to me that we had to pay attention to what we said on the phone because it was tapped. She kept telling me that her father, Jean Marchand, was a dangerous man. One evening after returning from a movie, they had a fight and Guillemette ran off.
I'm sorry to do this, guys, but I've got a very important message, and I have to. I'm gonna have to end the show. But if you want to, if you want to, you can watch that of your own. You can watch that of your own. The rest of that when you see fit, or we can continue it another time. I'll try and do one more live stream so we can have one last Market Harbour live stream before I have to go back. But other than that, thanks for dropping by, and watch me other videos. The last 2 videos I've done, and Patreon, motherfuckers, and all that. I'll see y'all later.